now for Cincinnati. Mitch Hildebrand, the hero, and the underdogs have prevailed once again.
I would like to present the USL Regular Season Championship to FC Cincinnati. Congratulations to the players, the staff, and most importantly, the fans on a record-breaking season. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your regular season champions, FC Cincinnati.
In a foot race, Cincinnati plays this across. Vasquez with the finish. Brandon Vasquez gives Cincinnati the 2-1 lead. A late breakdown by Red Bull.
Well, Dylan Nealis gets beaten, and nobody covers the streaking run. Unbelievable.
Montreal got under that. Oh! What a goal for FC Cincinnati! You couldn't dream that any better. Goal of the tournament. Maybe the history of the tournament. Alvaro Barreal makes it 2-0.
They have done it. Cincinnati, your 2023 Supporters Shield winners. A first trophy in their MLS era, and now they celebrate. Top of the Supporters Shield race since May. They never look back. And now a piece of silverware to show for it.
And they've gone for the long-range efforts. My word! That is spectacular! That is a goal to savour for a lifetime! An I-was-there type goal! Look at Orishano with an iconic strike at TQL Stadium.
CF Montreal just go to sleep when the ball goes. His whistle dead, and Orishano just takes a peek, looks up, and
the Flying Lion says,
"Boys, hell is real."
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, we don't play just for the club. We play for the club. I'm here for the fans.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome back, everyone. Another edition here of the Flying Lion podcast on a very interesting week for FC Cincinnati. Just kind of like the worst of worst that you could want, you know, from CONCACAF Champions Cup. But then just an unbelievable comeback win by the boys. So we're going to break down both matches, second half of the episode, talk a little bit about the international break that's coming up, some other FC Cincinnati news. But Sam, before we hit all of that, we want to remind you guys real quickly about Homage. We have partnered with them in Chatterbox here. And if you guys are looking for some super comfortable gear, fits you right, like I'm rocking tonight, a vintage FC Cincinnati shirt. Sam's rocking his All for Cincy one as well. Go and check them out. Sam, what we got going on?
Yeah, so right now for a limited time, you can get 20% off site-wide with code CHATTER. That's CHATTER, all caps, when you hit homage.com/cbox, or just scan the QR code if you're watching live here on the screen. But Ryan, I mean, once again, if you're gearing up for FC Cincinnati or Red season, or once again, just the Bengals upcoming draft, you know, this is the move. Again, code CHATTER, 20% off. You know, also hit the link in our social media bios as well. This is a deal right here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have opening day right around the corner. FC Cincinnati, nicer weather, you know, as we saw yesterday. So if you guys want to rock some short sleeve stuff, maybe some long sleeve things as well, good place to find it. We love the fine people at Homage there. So appreciate what we got rocking with them. But like we said, CONCACAF Champions Cup, unfortunately, we crash out in just a epic loss, if we want to say it. Round of 16 against Tigres. Again, just can't get over the mountain, if you want to say it, because it was down in Monterey. We had a 3-0 aggregate going into this one, and just unbelievable to see that we can't hold on. And it was just a frustrating kind of ending. It felt like, in some ways, like, okay, we were still in this, but at the same time, I'm also disappointed that it was that close. it's just, as we've seen, Sam, it's so hard for MLS teams in the middle of our, beginning of the season, I guess, to go down and to win there or get a favorable result, as we've kind of seen around the league as well.
No, yeah, and I think that's the thing that sticks out the most is it's not just us, right? If it were just us, that would be an even bigger issue. But like you said, just in this competition in general, MLS teams going down into Mexico, it's just they're not used to the environment. They really aren't. And the teams that even have been in, like FC Cincinnati, the past 2-3 seasons, right? Still just can't get over the hump, and goes to show. I mean, you look at the history of the competition itself, right? I mean, look at the winner. What, Seattle's the only one, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, MLS doesn't really have a great track record as far as the tournament goes, but I mean that's not really an excuse for a 3-0 aggregate.
Yeah, I mean, we saw 2 years ago, I think Columbus goes and makes the final. Last year, Vancouver makes the final. So we're making some progress there, and those teams have been able to find a way through it. But on this night and, in this group, just couldn't find it. And it's unfortunate. It was a good opportunity for us. But yeah, man, Tigres is quite the atmosphere and quite the team when they play down there. Obviously, different looking team when they played here, but we just couldn't get it done. So coming into this one, though, Sam, as we break this down, we had yet to concede a goal in 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup, O&M, and then the first leg of Tigres at home. Could have reached the quarterfinals, like you said, for the first time in club history. So that's unfortunate. But starting lineup-wise, a strong one. We get Evander back into the starting 11. Barlow gets the start here as well. And then Flores gets rewarded for his match day that he had at home against Tigres. But it was a very, if you guys go back, we want to kind of put it on the back burner here, but the New England Revolution game was just awful, right? So that was the one that came just prior to this. So we were interested to see how we would line up, how we would respond, and didn't look great early on, Sam.
No. I mean, right out of the gate, right? You get, the goal within 5 minutes and then another goal within, the first 10 minutes of the match. And I mean, after that first goal went in, Ryan, I think you and I collectively were like, oh, strap in. Here we go. This is going to be a long night, especially if they're scoring that early or that easy. And then obviously the second goal just came just as easy. But yeah, luckily those were the only 2 goals of the half there. And I mean, you would think that going into halftime, right, Pat would kind of, hey, let's chill out. We're in Mexico. Yes, environment sucks, but let's try and figure some things out. But second half didn't start out so well either.
No, I mean, so Miyaza comes in for Hidebe. He takes, I think, a head-to-head battle in the first half. So whether Matt's forced into it or maybe it was planned in some ways and it kind of worked out. But I was interested to see what he would look like with this group. Clearly, like Sam said, within 3 minutes they scored, or I guess 4 minutes, they scored 2 goals, and we're down on aggregate. Like within 49 minutes, we had a 3-0 lead in this and we go down. I mean, it's just like Pat Noonan says after the match, it's just like, we just look scared. We just didn't look ready for the moment. And we knew this was coming. If you guys watched our preview, it's like attack after attack last year from Tigres. We're up 1-0 at half and they scored 3 unanswered goals. Like, they have it in them. They have the firepower. They have better subs just because of their depth in their squad and what the Mexican league allows. But that's no excuse. I mean, the team just had to survive, and that's really what I would call that effort there. But they do have a little bit of resolve, Sam. 65th minute, out of nowhere, we all of a sudden kind of pick up things a little bit. We get a little bit more energy, and Evander puts in a nice ball from a free kick, and Denke gets his head on it and off the post and in, and all of a sudden we're up on aggregate on the away, and everyone's like, hold on a second. Are they actually going to do this?
I say I'd call that one probably like the pinball goal, because my goodness, did that the pace on Evander's free kick there to play it into Denke. I mean, it did, I don't think Denke even had to move his head, right? Like, it was just so quick. But yeah, once again, it puts us up on aggregate, and you're going, hey, I mean, it hasn't looked pretty, but can we hold on, right? Once again, that's the biggest question that, we have been trying to answer is, can we just hold on? And we did there for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like we had a 3-0 aggregate lead evaporate in 49 minutes. Like, could we survive? Like you said, towards the end. By the end, I think obviously very tired legs. You've been chasing the game. I mean, it's like playing. I'm not going to compare Tigres to like primetime Barcelona, but I'm going to do it. I mean, just the way that they held the ball against us, Sam. We held such a deep block, and we weren't able to get out of our half. When we did, we had, I think, the prime chance was when Anunga got the ball, at the top of the 18, and he's so flustered that he gets the ball and he just shoots it right away, and probably should have passed it to Denke. Could have led to an opportunity, or even to go kill the ball in the corner, right before the dagger comes in the 90th plus 8, maybe 9th minute. And I think there was a total of 9 minutes of extra time, for this second half, which was kind of wild. Of course, it's going to go that way down in Mexico. We had to just find a way, right? But literally almost the last play of the game, I just don't see enough pressure. I texted you before this moment happened. I said, we got to get more pressure on the width to deny their crosses. And everyone kind of goes in towards like the 6, and it leaves the guy open at the top of the box after a little deflection. They play it over and he's wide open. He slots it in. I mean, there's nothing that Roman could do. There's a lot of bodies in his way, but I mean, that's probably one of the worst daggers. You asked me this question after. One of the worst moments in recent FCC history. You said, how does this compare? We can debate to the 2023 Eastern Conference final. Now that we've had a few days, you said maybe I'll feel different about it. But what do you think, Sam?
No, yeah, I just think obviously the way this one just slowly, I mean not slowly, actually, very quickly. Very quickly was out of our hands. And clearly we were not going to be walking out of this one with any sort of pride. Even if we did win, right? I mean, it's still like, you guys had a 3-0 lead. You should have won, one of those things.
And then you came back and you couldn't hold that either.
Well, as far as like historical, I mean, you even look recently, right? Like the Inter Miami playoff match, the Columbus game 2, like things like that, where it just snowballs and you're not able to kind of just come back from it, which is unfortunate because it is one of those things where we've seen it within the past couple months.
Well, what did I say? I said after the New England match, you see 2 or 3 go in, and that's probably the worst thing for this team. I thought, it could go either way. Maybe it's the best thing for the team and they don't want that to happen again, or the worst thing. Hey, we just gave up 6 goals. We just give up 5 in this one, and it's a 5-1 victory. To the neutral fan that didn't know what was going on, again, like 1 away goal, if we held them to 4 goals, would have won it. And you give up that 5th one. I mean, it's awful. I mean, you come out of it feeling terrible. You get scored on in the last minute. You had this lead, and you could have moved on and faced Seattle, but it wasn't to be. And the group just didn't have the resolve. They didn't have that fight. We saw a little bit of Matt Miazga putting in some words there, maybe a little bit of some leadership that we needed, but ultimately, not enough, on the day and on the season, I guess, for this early competition. To your, I guess, question about this, it doesn't compare, and it will never compare to the Eastern Conference final just because of the moment and what it meant and against your rival. But yeah, I mean, the way you lose this one and the amount that they have to get to that point and how fast they got it, I mean, it's just a bad look. But San Diego got beat 4-0 as well. I mean,
yeah, like I said, we weren't the only ones.
We're not the only ones, and it sparked a bigger conversation, about MLS going down there. I think there's only been 6 wins potentially in CCC action. I think I saw in like Liga MX soil, so that's not a lot out of like 50 or 60 games. So surprisingly, Nick Hagelin has his first debut, I guess, match for CONCACAF Champions Cup. He gets 3 minutes, if you want to count as a debut, but I'm surprised he hadn't had any minutes before.
No, I know. Yeah. Like I'm, you're reading the stat here. Last time he was in the competition was 2018, and it was also against Tigres, but he was playing for Toronto at the time. So yeah, wild stat there. Considering you got to think he's been injured at the beginning of the season to start like every season. So cool to see that. Denke once again getting his goal. He's 4th all time, or at the time was 4th all time in club history. So once again, just moving up the leaderboard there. But yeah, definitely wanted to put this one past us as fast as possible.
Yeah, and like I think somebody, maybe Tommy G said it in the pregame, for the Montreal match, was probably the best thing for this team was just to get back on the field and just to play again, get it out of their brains. Unfortunate that it's a late Thursday night and then they have to travel back. They have Saturday to train. You hear a lot of things that come out, prior to this Montreal match about tired legs, rotation, the resolve in the team. We heard a lot of quotes about we need some guys to be more vocal on the field as well. So that kind of all builds into what everyone wants to talk about, at least that we want to talk about on a brighter note, because we played CF Montreal yesterday, match day number 5 in the MLS, and what a comeback win it was for the boys. Again, to kind of set the scene, coming in, had 3 straight home wins versus Montreal by 2+ goals. Good thing we said that now and not in our pregame or our prior preview episode. Sam, sword pull, it was back in front of the Bailey. They listened to us. So I think a lot of people were calling for this. And let's just say this season we are 1-0 at home when we have sword pull in front of the Bailey.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the stat that we run with right from now on, is where is the sword pull and what's the record. So yeah, the other one, Ryan, I mean, you saw this one, Jeff Cameron at TQL. I mean, on just hanging out on the concourse. Give us some thoughts on that.
Yeah, walking around pregame, just about to go to the seats during the national anthem, of course, because, the patriot that Jeff Cameron is. And I see him standing there with the FCC representative, taking in the match, a former guy that played for us, I think last 2021, maybe 2022, I think was his last season. But a U.S. men's national team guy as well. Maybe he's got some sort. I saw a lot of comments about it. It was pretty funny. Is he going to be the next manager for the team? I had kind of posed the question, could the guy still play center back after what we saw in the first half? But yeah, it was cool to see. I always like seeing former guys come in. A lot still work for the club. And if they don't, we still see a lot of guys come back and want to take in. Because TQL, let's be honest, it's a great atmosphere. It was a beautiful day yesterday for it. 82 degrees in March with hydration breaks. That's crazy.
Insane.
But yeah, I think it's cool to see him there. He still probably has some relationship with some of the guys in the back line. With I think Miazga, probably Hagelin as well, more than anything. But starting lineup-wise, Sam, couple changes.
Yeah, just a little bit. In the back, you get Evan Loro due to Roman taking a knock in Saturday's practice, which was unfortunate to hear. But, back line, you get a little bit of rotation. Miazga starts in there, and then Powell also gets the start back in center back. But then you've got Ender and Ramirez, as the wings, and then Buka, Obi in the middle, and then Evander Jabari up top. With Denke, Barlow, obviously started against Tigres, so some rotation there, just trying to get fresh legs. But shout out once again to our guy Alvis, 150 appearance for him, so he's etching his name in history. Continuing, I think Celentano got his 150th, I think last game, right, against Revolution. So, but yeah, obviously the other absence.
Toronto. I think it might have been Toronto.
Might have been Toronto. Yeah, it was one of the past ones he's done it this season. But Dotto, red card suspension, so he was out for this one, wasn't in the 18. But Ryan, I mean, obviously lineup, you're like, okay, like a little bit of rotation, but I like seeing, Miazga in the back. However, was not the captain.
No, he wasn't. That was interesting. Obviously, Miles has been in there. He's kind of got that continuity. It was interesting to see, like, when both are back on the pitch, like what that would look like. Because last year, I think it was Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So interesting there. But I mean, early on, Sam, we get punched in the mouth like right away, and everyone's a couple of boo birds out there, coming from the Bailey even as well. Because after a terrible match on Thursday, the ending, of course, to get scored on early on at home. Gut punch. I went back. I watched a lot of these goals because there's 7. Surprise to everyone who didn't watch it. I'm sure if you're listening to us, you of course did. But there's too much space. Like you had put in this. I think if I remember correctly, Wiki Carmona, a former Red Bulls guy who I just despised, is left too much space because Matt Miazga steps on the ball, and Miles just leaves the guy wide open. Underrated part of this actually is that our midfield was just nowhere to be found. And, of course, Miles has got a step, but you need some midfield guys to kind of eat some of the pressure there up front so Matt doesn't have to step as far. It left this gap, but I think it kind of showed a little bit of cracks in terms of, Miles hadn't played on the left side this season. You see him next to Miazga for the first time as well. So there's going to be a little bit of getting used to. They've had the last couple seasons, you would think, but in real life game situations, Montreal, credit to them, they just took advantage of it. They go up right away. And it just felt, again, like more of the same, just with the defense. We've given up so many goals, Sam.
No, I know. And that space in behind, Obi and Buka got to track back a little bit better, like you said. But we did have our fair share of chances there within the first, let's say 20 minutes. I think Evander had a chance there. But luckily, to help the crowd before halftime, Ender actually gets a goal. Ryan, this turn, right? This is what sells it for me, is that turn that Ender has on the sideline there to run into space, carries the ball all the way, and just phenomenal finish because Montreal guy doesn't step at all, and he's able to bury it into the left corner of the goal. Yeah, what a phenomenal play by him. Like, I think in another world, in a different game, or later on in the season, this might be up for like a goal of the year type thing. No, it's not, but it's a great individual effort. It goes through the guy's legs, takes him on, and is just confident. He goes down and slots it away like he knew what he was doing. First goal of the season for him. I was kind of surprised to see that he hadn't had one yet, but he was instrumental to this team on the day, so we'll get to him a little bit later. Right before the half, I'm like thinking, we scored. What's the response going to be of these boys? Like, they had put it in for a solid 15, 20 minutes. We get the goal. Let's go into half. Let's keep it, a tied game. And the same, just very much a lot of the same play. Again, Matt steps to the ball or is a little bit slow to close down, and they play a quick ball through where Miles leaves the guy with, again, too much space and can't rotate it enough. And I think Powell goes to try to block it, but he's, late as well. It's just the same thing, just too much space for them in the quick passes. The again, underrated part of this, if you guys remember, Evander turns the ball over way too easy, close to midfield on this play, and is completely discombobulated. He has no idea where the ball is, and then he just stands, throws his hands up, and they're on the counterattack. Our midfield is way out of position, and the back line doesn't have enough time to react. But it just is so frustrating to me. That could have been an easy ball for Evander just to play anywhere. But he tries to take the guy on at midfield there, and it leads to the goal. It's frustrating. Yeah, you saw that a couple times in this match where Evander kind of got dispossessed, trying to take guys one-on-one, which he absolutely can do. But once again, can't do it every single time. And obviously, like you mentioned, Matt stepping to that ball, he was very visibly upset after they conceded that goal, especially right before half when you're trying to, hopefully build some momentum going into the second half. So he was 1 for 3 on successful dribbles, was Evander in this match. And just 1 for 7 on ground duels won. We know he doesn't go into challenges. He doesn't even go up for aerial duels. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. You're right. On this day, it didn't feel like any of his moves were coming off well. No, yeah, but luckily, you come out of the second half and there's a little bit of a spark, right? In Ender, right? Ender Echenike. He was the spark in this one, and we'll talk more about it. But great job for him. I think he really, Buka wins the ball. Beautiful touch, by the way. Just to put it on his toe, and Ender finds space. Says, "Hey, Buka, right here." And he's able to carry that ball forward and finds Jabari. And I mean, Jabari, I think before half, he had another chance that he missed maybe to the right of the post. And this one, he's able to slot it away. Yeah, no, good shout. I think I jokingly said that, Ender for number 10 attacking mid, after I see him cutting through the midfield and making a play, he draws in the defender, plays it perfectly. Good job for, honestly, Jabari for staying on side, because a lot of people would have kind of gone forward. But he times it well and they slot it away. And yeah, I mean, we're back in it. It's just a crazy back and forth match here. So 2-2 in the moment, but 60th minute, I'm going to give you my gut reaction on this play.
number one, the foul that they call close to midfield that leads to this PK in this moment by Robinson is interesting. I think there's not a ton to it, on the pullback of the jersey there that leads to this. The guy that shoots the ball hits a rocket, and Laurel has to kind of make a reaction save. Maybe could have done a little bit better with it, but it's through traffic. It's a hard shot, so he does what he can, blocks it, but it leads kind of right to the middle. So maybe if I had the one argument is just push it out wide instead of the middle, but easy for me to say. And it deflects right into the center where their guys, again, props to them, turn and react. That's what you're supposed to do as a striker. And Owosu tries to get to the ball, and Robinson, from my vantage point, makes a nice sliding tackle because it happens so fast. But I think he gets a little bit of the jersey on him. He tugs him a little bit. Maybe the guy sells it. He knew he was going to get beaten. He had to kind of make up some ground. In slow-mo, it looks a lot worse than in real time. It looks like it's a jostling for position and clears it out. But if he's the last defender, the guy's, about to shoot it, like, that's pretty much a denial of a goal scoring opportunity, which is technically a red card. So in the moment, I was definitely heated about it. If I go back and look at it, it's still somewhat harsh to call it a red, but I think ultimately, it's probably a PK. Unfortunate. And for Miles to go out, we haven't really seen that, Sam. So how was this group going to react? And they get this PK, they slot it away. 60th minute, we go down 3-2. We're down again at home. Are we going to come back down a man? We've never seen this happen. It was a crazy match.
No, and back-to-back matches, right? In the MLS with red cards. So more on that later. But like you said, are we going to find a way? Is this team going to be resilient, especially being down a man? And luckily, you get some heart and hustle, right? That's exactly what we needed. Right place, right time. Denke tries to kind of corral a very hot pass, but gets deflected towards goal. And once again, Barlow, just Mr. Hustle, right? I think you had said, and right place, right time, runs onto the ball and just makes a calm, cool, collected finish. It takes a deflection, so luckily it kind of finds the back of the net, but that's the type of heart kind of hustle play that you want in that specific moment. Game's not over type moment right there.
100%. Yeah, couldn't say it any better. I had put out, I called him Tom Hustle Barlow. I know a lot of people call him Starlow, but hustle, man, that guy just wanted it more, and he just outruns the defender. That's why I think he deserves the minutes. And hand up, accountability here. I've been wrong. This guy has been, good for this team. Could we have talent-wise a better player? Maybe, but the hustle is there, and that's what we want. If he's got talent but no heart, then what is he? And he's definitely got the heart. He might not be the most talented guy, but in this moment, again, we just find a way to come back, and that was in the 80th minute. So then you're thinking towards the end of the match, all right, we had a water break, we had a VAR decision. We ended up getting 12 minutes of extra time in this match. And okay, so let's talk about it, because here's the game-winning goal. 90th plus 4th minute, Denke scores. The moment right before this, my wife is going to probably yell at me for saying this one, but Evander tries to dribble in off of a corner that gets deflected out, and he tries to dribble in one-on-one when we have 8 guys in the box. Play it into the box. I just am so sick of short corners or opportunities where you're trying to go one-on-one when you have your tallest players in the box to score. Play it in. Give them a chance to score. Luckily, it deflects out. Hagelin gets a long throw, Sam, and guess what he does? He puts it in the box, and you get an opportunity to score. So for me, it's just give the guys the opportunity to do it. I know you want the limelight. I know you want to score, but put it in.
To your point, what was it? Probably a couple of weeks ago, right? Where we were talking about how can we get this offense going, right? I think it was during the lulls of it might have been after the Toronto match where we were like, hey, are we going to take more, get more effectiveness out of those corners or the set pieces that are outside the 18? And you mentioned throw-ins, right? Are we going to be more effective with throw-ins? Nick Hagelin. I mean, I think if you saw his post, he compared himself to Uncle Rico in throwing, having that throw in, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, Denke, right place, right time, able to
the ball further, Sam. We saw Sergio Santos launch a football a couple years ago. Him or Alvis Powell has a long throw in as well.
Yeah.
Hagelin, he's up there though. It was a nice throw.
2 hands for safety. Give me Nick Hagelin. You know,
that's right. We didn't even touch on it. So the ball deflects, and obviously Denke puts it in, takes his shirt off. Of course, gets a yellow card. For that. I don't know how many times we need to see that, or is he gonna ever learn? He had a 1 game suspension.
I don't think it's a learning thing. Ryan, you got to show it.
It's just his thing, I guess. I don't know. But we come back, Sam. We found a way to win at home. We hold on, down a man, down a goal. They win. I mean, they find it. And I love the resolve from the group. Ender was, again, the spark plug that this team needed. My question, nobody's talking about it, Sam, is Obi okay? The end of the match, 85th minute, he comes out grabbing his thigh. And very similar thing happens against Montreal, by the way, last June. And he's out for 3 months with a thigh injury. It was his opposite one. I went back and looked for you guys to see. He enters his left last season. He came out grabbing his right thigh in this match. I need to, go around and ask some people and see what's going on with him. I hope he's all right. He was able to walk off, but he's had some problems with injuries, in the past few seasons. So I'm hoping that he's okay.
Yeah, obviously it's somebody, we talk about midfield depth, right? And he's a guy that has been Mr. Champions Cup, and he's been able to actually be more forward than he has in past seasons. So obviously, hopefully he's all right. But yeah, Ryan, as far as takeaways for this one, like you said, down a man and just found a way. And credit to Ender. I think he changed the game, simple as that, in certain moments. And that late game mentality finally flipped, which was good after the past couple MLS matches. But yeah, the team, you can see that they have fight. They do. Can we make that a consistent thing though? I don't want it. Hey, let's go through a lull and then we've got fight, right? Let's just fight all the time.
Well, 100%. Like at the end of the game, like where is this the whole game? Where's this energy? Where when we're up a goal and there's 12 minutes left and this team's like, we are not getting scored on like we did the last time. Where is that the whole time? Give me that fight. You're exactly right. Like go out and do it consistently. And to your point though about being in it, like we were in it to the last minute, at Tigres. For whatever and how bad it looked, we had a chance to advance somehow. I mean, that's just Pat Noonan's way. It's just somehow getting it done. So, in this one, coming out of it now, 9th in the East with 6 points. I think the teams above us very close, in terms of points. So we'll touch a little bit about that later on in the episode. Comeback victory marked the second time in our history that we've scored a game tying and game winning goal in the 80th minute or later. I thought it was like one of the first times, but maybe down a man, one of the first times I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then past that, first come from behind victory when playing down a man. There we go. Didn't read it again. Sam had it. He had me covered. I love it. I did it again. But yeah, we what an effort by the boys.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Ryan's got to read the agenda.
Better than my performance. Yeah, geez. The outline.
No, but yeah, a lot of good feeling stats coming from these. Once again, hey, haven't done this in a while, right? Don't want to do this every time, but cool to see it hasn't been done in a while. But Ryan, I mean, right here, Pat Noonan getting it done. Like we had been saying, this guy he doesn't lose consecutively a lot, right? You go on a 3-game losing streak and it's just not something you've seen. And so coming into this match, was it going to be 4, right? Were we going to go down? And
well, it would have been 3.
3?
Technically an MLS play, right? Because Minnesota, Toronto. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. You're right. So this is only the 3rd time. You're right. You're exactly right. It's only happened now 3 times in his history, and the other 2 were in 2024. I need to learn how to count apparently as well. But
Ryan's got some like game-winning fog. He's got some game-winning brain fog.
I'm just so distracted by the fact that we actually won that match.
We won.
But as Evan LaRose says in his post-match comments, like, who cares? Who gives a what? Like, let's just figure out a way to go and win it. Like, I love that quote by him. Like, credit to the guys. With all the travel, all the competition, just finding a way to win. There's things that we're going to talk about, in our storylines. And like Sam said, this isn't necessarily sustainable, but for the moment in all the matches that we had prior, the congestion, the tired legs, the way that we lose the prior match, like the resolve, like, Pat is saying, like, I don't really care how it looked at this point. We found a way. This could be the turning point, for the season in a lot of ways. I think we kind of even put that maybe in a title somewhere. So storylines that come out of it, Sam, again, huge bounce back win, especially in MLS play for us. We have one kind of competition now to focus on for a while, and that's just the MLS and continuing to get better. You put in here, and we'll pose the question to you, temporarily saves Pat Noonan's job.
Yeah, obviously he won. So you're going to kind of get rid of the critics for a little bit. But once again, going back to my point, like this doesn't feel like a turnaround yet. It's a very reactionary win, right? Especially after the Tigres loss, after the New England Revolution's loss, it's reactionary, right? That's what you want to see. But a full turnaround, we've got to put, a couple games together where it doesn't necessarily have to be wins, but you have to feel good about the result, right? Mm-hmm. Going on the road, getting a draw, getting a hard fought draw, right? Or, just building on things like that, I think is crucial, especially for this team. And to Pat Noonan's credit, going into this international break with some positive feelings. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this is now, yes, there's going to be guys that are going to be away from the team, but at least they're away from the team going, hey, I felt really good about playing, and then they're going to play for their national teams, feel even better, and want to come back and do it again. So I think, yes, he has saved his job for now. Although, like you said, Ryan, the first 6 minutes there was not looking good. Boos were all around TQL Stadium. So what are your thoughts on that, though?
Yeah, again, we're in the match down in Tigres. It looks ugly. It felt ugly. It felt horrible. I come out of it just feeling like awful. I just need to see it more consistently. But is the comeback fight, more from the team? Is it more from coaching? Is it a little bit of both? He comes out of the water break, we heard, and basically he's like, show me what you guys got. Show me the fight and the resolve you have. And to me, the players have to buy into that. And I was questioning the buy-in, honestly, from some of the players in a lot of senses, individually, collectively, and for them to collectively come back and to find that hopefully, let's say, is a spark plug for the team moving into this next stretch to say, we can do this. We can still find ways, and let's have the confidence. Now, for me, talking about like the next step forward, defensive struggle, Sam. In the MLS regular season play, we've given up 11 goals, which is just a stupid amount of goals already. We give up 5, down in Tigres, 6 in the match prior, 11 goals, right? Before I think we even scored, a goal. It had been several minutes, but defensively, it's got to get better. And I think that's where it starts, because Pat Noonan's teams, like historically, defensively strong. In the last several seasons, with rotation, different center backs, people out with international break, like he's found a way to get guys to buy into that, and we just have to get better collectively, within the back line. And I think for me, that comes with, obviously there's a lot of competitions to start. Now that you have one competition, Sam, you got to solidify your back three and say, these are the guys that I'm going to trust moving forward. And to give them that confidence to say, play with your brothers, learn how to play with each other now. And I don't know, from your eyes, Sam, who is that back three or that back center back pairings there?
Yeah, I think it's obviously based off of fitness and health right now. I think, with Hadebe and his head injury, against Tigres, do you go with him on the left side? Or do you put Robinson? I enjoy having Nick Haglund out there with Matt Miazga. I think the two of them together has been a phenomenal tandem. Miles Robinson right now is very questionable, but you can't not put him in, right? He's your DP center back, and you need him to be his best, right? And for him to be at his best, he needs to start. He's not going to be at his best coming off the bench, especially. It's not going to be a good look for, like I said, the U.S. men's national team potential, starter or bench player. But Yeah, I would say those three as far as the back.
Well, for how good of a beginning of the season Miles had last several matches for him, right? New England 4.8 on FOTMob, Tigres 5.3, Montreal 5.2. That's your DP center back and your captain, and the results kind of follow that, right? So he's got to elevate his play. We know that. I'm sure he knows that as well. Maybe he gets his head right going into the U.S. men's national team camp. To your point about the back three and okay, Hagelin slots in, Sam, but I'm a little worried about Miazga's legs. So is he the anchor then? I would love to have Miles back on the right side. He thrives kind of there, but if it's Hagelin on the left, then you have two guys next to each other that in space, are not maybe what they used to be in track down speed and whatnot. So is that Hidebe, that left-footed center back, that we slide in there if he's healthy, like you said? I think that's where you have to look. But that's the question moving forward. And as we go into April is, can we solidify the defense? Obviously, offensively, we find a couple goals here in this last match. But let's just continue to find ways. The one thing that I wanted to kind of point out, our crosses, Sam. In this past match, we had 0 accurate crosses. In the prior game, in Tigres match, we had, I believe, 2. New England, we had 3. For all the times that we go down the width and get the ball, they don't have targets to play to in the center. So we got to be able to pick out the right pass. Maybe that's more on the guy crossing the ball than it is the runners, but I think it's a little bit of both. So we get a little bit of a pass here for 4 goals, but a lot of them are individual efforts leading to goals, Sam. You had kind of put in here, all 3 are from forwards, which is good. You want that. You feel better about the striker room that way. But at the same time, Ender's play, solo play. No team chemistry involved with that one, right? Hagelin's one, you just got to go and find the ball in the back of the net. Barlow's hustle play. Again, I'm not mad about this. We found a way to win, but is that a little bit of a red flag to you that collectively we still need to kind of put it together offensively as well? We're talking about both sides of the ball now.
No, yeah, I think it starts in the middle. It's just not quite cohesive enough. You see we're able to move the ball on the wings, but we're not able to put the ball in the middle, right? That's your biggest question, is trying to figure out how to work together to still progress the ball forward. But yeah, the individual brilliance, it's fantastic. Those last 2 goals, arguably very lucky. So luck's on your side. That's you can't ask for anything better. But coming into this one, Ryan, the reason I pointed out all 3 forwards scored, does that make you feel more comfortable about the striker room? I think, which is crazy because coming into this season, you and I, the biggest question was that striker room rather than the back line. The back line, we were like, oh, okay, we've got some depth. We'll be all right. Miles Robinson, DP, question mark, but hopefully he'll live up to the hype. It's actually flipped.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I didn't kind of really see it that way just because of how poor the play has been in the build-up and whatnot, and how the strikers can kind of be more involved with that. But the strikers are doing their job. That's a good point. I mean, that's what their job is to score. And you get all 3 that score, and you got to be happy about that. Denke, on a little bit of a run as well. So how can we maybe find them in better positions to score collectively as a team and not just individually? But that's a hallmark of Pat Noonan teams, I guess, in the last several seasons, just, hero ball. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. We don't have all the answers, of course, but we'll take a break here. But before we do, trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV. Has FC Cincinnati ever had consecutive matches with red cards? So in this match, we have, red, one prior. We get a red as well with Dotto. Have we ever had 2 besides this one in a row?
I'm going to go maybe one other time, and I'm going to go I'm just going to go to 2023. I'm just going to give you a year. I'm going to go 2023. It's happened one other time.
Sam's locking it in. Give us your answer at the end, and we'll see if you got it right. Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, it's time to upgrade your matchday gear for this season. We've teamed up with Homage to hook you up with 20% off site-wide for the next 30 days using the code CHATTER when visiting the link homage.com/Cbox.
If you've ever worn their stuff before, it's that vintage, that super soft gear that actually feels like something you want to wear every day, not just on match day. So if you're gearing up for the FC Cincinnati season, baseball season, or just, Bengals off season in general, and just want some merch for your favorite team, now is the time.
Yeah, like Sam said, the draft's coming up. We have opening day for the Cincinnati Reds. Go find any of the homage gear for the Bengals, the Reds, and most importantly, we're biased, but FC Cincinnati, we're rocking our stuff tonight. Shout out to Homage for their gear. Go get your homage gear while you can, as this code, again, is only for a limited time. Use, again, the code CHATTER, and you'll get 20% off. Again, this is for any purchase on their site. Go and check out the link again, homage.com/CBOX, CBOX, or in our social media bios that we'll have up here shortly. Show up to the next match day in some legendary comfort. Thanks again, guys. Thanks again for joining us tonight. And thanks again to Homage, for this opportunity. So go check them out. Again, QR code up here if you guys are watching. On Sam, I think it's on a different side, so maybe he can point differently. Sam made this outline, so don't get mad at me for this one. It's maybe it's a winning week, it's a losing week. So do our cards go first on this week? I think we've been flip-flopping it. So cards first here. Let's do it. Roll into it, Sam. What do you got this week?
It's cards first, just based off of I usually just consensus of the fans, right?
Yeah,
if
fair.
the fans are feeling positive, then but I like you said, a little bit even keel this week. It kind of evened itself out, but we'll go card of the week first, and mine's going to be the fact that there was the Moroccan decision for the AFCON. If you didn't see, Senegal actually beat Morocco 1-0 in extra time in the AFCON final about 2 months ago. So now that we're 2 months later, the Confederation of African Football has stripped them of that title and handed it to Morocco as a 3-0 forfeit win. Because if you had been following along, Senegal's players briefly walked off the pitch in protest of a penalty decision. So they had eventually returned, but the African Football Confederation had ruled that walking off technically was a forfeit under their competition rules. And so Senegal, obviously, they're very upset, and they're actually calling for corruption and appealing to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, taking it all the way up there. So imagine if, the FIFA World Cup final result was decided 2 months later because a coach didn't like a VAR call. Or the kicker, right? Some actually high-profile players in Morocco's team, including the captain, have actually publicly rejected the awarded title, suggesting even the winners themselves aren't fully buying it.
This is crazy. What a story. I mean, like you said, imagine if this happens this summer, 2026 World Cup, and they strip them of it. I mean, again, for those unfamiliar, or you want to find a comparable thing, Louisville, gets stripped of their national championship. USC, they don't have the Heismans that they once had, like Reggie Bush and whatnot. This is like an international competition. They win the African Cup of Nations, and 2 months later, they're stripped of the title. And
What's crazy though is it's the result, right? Like those two you just mentioned were like afterthoughts. What would be comparable is if the Astros, right, for the cheating scandal got stripped of their World Series title, right, which a lot of people were calling for, but that didn't happen. So the fact that it actually got overturned and this is happening is crazy.
Does it I don't even know, do you celebrate it the same way? Are they going to throw a parade in the streets of Morocco now?
Clearly their captain doesn't even want it. So
it's strange. I don't know how I would feel as a player about it. Knowing that we lost the match, but we won based on the decision. I don't know, man. It's strange. It's bizarre.
What was your card?
My card of the week, Dado Valenzuela gets a game added on to his suspension for his red card against New England Revolution. Laurel Failer puts this one out. I think the MLS kind of puts something out about it as well, but it's just bizarre. When have you ever seen a game added for such a nonchalant red card? Okay. Is it even a red? It might be a red. He steps on the guy's foot. It's a high tackle, but to add another game without any other explanation. It just seems like maybe they were upset about Evander being publicly like calling them out for the fact that his tackle was a lot worse. Let's be honest. So it's bizarre. Now we have 2 guys that are out for another match because of this. I felt like we were at one point getting cheated away from, the Montreal decision. I look back on it now and it's like, all right, maybe they're right. But it seems like a lot was going against us in terms of this. So what are your thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, obviously I've been very vocal. If you look at my tweets the past couple of weeks, as far as the Dotto case versus the Evander foul, got into a little bit of a heated discussion with somebody just about the Evander foul itself, how that wasn't even a red card. So it is what it is, right? I mean, at this point, the MLS disciplinary committee, right, is God. So you got to
find
listen
us,
to
MLS. We're here. Come find us.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't
exactly.
Don't get out on data.
But yeah,
Right.
obviously it's going to suck because you don't have your backup number 10. That affects your midfield depth. And like you said, it's not just one, it's 2 matches for something like that, which is pretty interesting, just to say the least. But Ryan,
do you think, but just before we move on, like I know in the NFL, if this happens, like they lose like a game day check. Like obviously Dotto is not like a very highly paid player right now, but I mean, is he losing out on a check potentially from this
a great question
for a young player? I think it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be something to obviously consider. But on a more, I guess, exciting note, Ryan would have probably chose the jersey swaps to begin, but we'll roll into it after the cards here. I'm gonna roll with Kevin Denke on this one, Ryan. This man, once again, Mr. Clutch, another game winner for him, just continues to set records in that category in FC Cincinnati history. Would have had another one against Tigres if it wasn't for us playing in Mexico in general. But right now, Denke, 6 goals, 1 assist in all competitions this season. He's starting to heat up. So I think on the pitch, you can see he's maturing a lot this season compared to last, as far as starting to contribute beyond just goals, attitude, work rate, integration into team play. And you can definitely see it with the team celebrations as well.
Can we talk about Kevin Denke's week, man? Like, I need a documentary. We need a short film on Kevin Denke's week. We go back all the way to the Tigres home match where he gets threatened by the goalkeeper. Says, like, when we go down to Monterrey, I need to have maybe like a Messi style bodyguard, for me. Fast forward to New England, we get smacked. We come back home and he wrecks his car. Wild. Comes out Thursday, scores, would have potentially been a game winner for that one as well. And then scores a game winner on Sunday. Like, what a wild week for Kevin Denke. That's an E60 or some sort of documentary right there.
Oh yeah, a little short film. Would love to see that. Just a little, just
1 week in March or something like that. Like,
yeah. Just your average day in March in Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah.
Wild. Sam, my jersey swap, shocker for everyone listening. It's Ender Echenique. What a player. What a moment for him. Stars in this one, makes team of the match day for the MLS. I think his first time he's been honored from the MLS as well. So Ender was phenomenal in this match. He had 40 touches. He had a goal and an assist in this one. He gets called up recently for the Venezuelan national team as well. Unfortunately, won't be able to travel for them. But I've really felt like Ender's been the bright spot for this team through the early struggles in the season. And we talked about how important wingback play has been, and Ender has done a ton for this team and continues to do that. I would love to see his energy, kind of rub off, honestly, on everyone else, because he's just an energizer bunny. He's really good on the ball. And then when he is in space, I think he does well with the space too, Sam. But he, at least even if the defender catches up to him, he'll stop on a dime and cut back. And I think that's really hard to defend.
No, absolutely. I mean, in MLS play this year, he's got, a goal and 2 assists. And Ryan, once again, this is the first time in his Cincinnati career he's actually recorded multiple goal contributions in a match. So elevating his game, match after match. And obviously international duty is calling each and every time. This win, the windows now. We've seen it. The quality of play just continues to get better. The maturing on the ball, like you said, not just playing wingback, but finding, those positions as a 10 possibly, right? Like reading the match very well. Just proud,
Yeah. I mean, what a player. Again, excited to see him develop. He's only 21. So
Yeah.
I had seen some people kind of put out there, like, if he keeps doing well, is he going to get some looks abroad? I hope not, man.
Well, like I think I had made this shout last year, but the under 22 list for MLS, Ender's got to be on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And a lot of his play goes underrated too, but he gets us out of a lot of bad situations, as well.
Speed kills.
100%. Yeah. So other FC Cincinnati news here. After the Tigres match, Vander, again, a lot more vocal this season, comes out and says the experts, commentators who just started watching soccer yesterday, and others take advantage of moments like this and defeats to gain engagement. To the real FC Cincinnati fans, we'll come back stronger. It's time to bounce back. There's a lot of interesting takes about this one. Again, just a guy that was just a little bit upset, obviously, about what had happened. He's been injured early on this season. He's had a rough go at it. He's looked better, maybe I would say, in Montreal, a little bit more involved with it, but there's lapses of play, Sam, for what I see, honestly, where I just think Evander's been checked out a little bit. He drifted out wide at the end of the game and wasn't really finding play when we needed our number 10 to connect the play. I want his head to be in there the whole time, on the field, off the field. He's being a lot more vocal off the field. He's got to show it on the field now as well. And I think you'll see a lot more of that as we go along here. He can get his mind right, just focusing on the MLS season. And we all know what he can do. We saw it last season. How can we really unlock this guy? Is it more that he's in his head now? And another point about this, he says the commentators who just started watching soccer, I think he might be referring to Taylor Twellman in this one, Sam.
Potentially. After the Tigres match, Taylor had rattled off a couple, tweets about Evander and the lack of accountability showing up. And yeah, I mean, possibly a response to that. But you see, we put it out there, and actually it caught fire on Twitter. So a lot of people quote tweeting us and giving their thoughts. And I think looking at them, a lot of them were, hey, appreciate the sentiment, right? The words, obviously, hey, like, it's time to bounce back. Let's come back stronger. But we got to see it on the field. And since we haven't been seated on the field, what makes us, believe in what you're putting out there?
We're real fans of Vander. Like, we're all here behind you. But we want the best for you, man. That's really what it comes down to. I don't think anyone has any ill will. And if they do, like, it's our number 10. Like, we need him to do well. So we're just basically saying, like, well, let's see it now then. Let's go and do it. Like, show us. And, maybe he hasn't had the sustainable minutes fully healthy now, but as he's kind of rounding back in, maybe this week break for international is kind of what he needs to get straightened out and to move forward, to be more key to this team, I would say. I think his agents, I'm going to call it out here, on Instagram even say how vital he was to this last match for us. And he really wasn't. I really don't think in the Montreal one, he was the guy that, like, we leaned on to say that we won the match. So maybe that's good in some ways that we have other players that can find ways to win, but we also need our number 10 to come out and to do what we know that he can do. So we just wanted to touch on that a little bit, just because there's a lot of talk around circles about that. In other MLS news, the 2027 sprint season format has come out. So again, for those unfamiliar, next season, starting in probably early February, we're going to have 14 matches, all conference games, single elimination playoffs starting in May, a shortened season because starting in August of 2027, we're going to have a new format, August to May. So, Sam, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, I mean, this will begin in February, like you said. There's going to be some international competition implications. There's going to be, some other things that are possibly still up in the air. But 14 games, it's, do or die, right? You got little room for air, little room to breathe. And having that single elimination, I think we should do that all the time in the playoffs.
Let's take that from this.
Yeah, so hopefully they take notes, from this one. But yeah, top 8 teams once again in each of the 2 conferences will qualify for the playoffs just like normal. So it's going to be the exact same as far as that. But I think based off of this as well, would it still be the same for, looks like CONCACAF berth spots 5 and then 18 teams for Leagues Cup? Okay, so it'll be the same. But yeah, once again, just gearing up for that 2027 shift to the
just
summer.
no margin for error, like Sam said. I think what's really tough for MLS teams, if you guys have paid attention to like contracts and whatnot, contracts are running until about the summer of 2027. So this is kind of the players' last chance in this sprint season. If they want to make the roster for this new schedule, they got to do it in this short season. But for me, and as we get closer, we'll talk about it more. Should there be an asterisk on, winning the MLS Cup? Should there be an asterisk on Supporters Shield for, winning 14 games and being the top team? Like we had kind of seen the COVID season and Portland wins, the MLS is back tournament. But like, why? I don't understand. Like, we're going to still have an MLS Cup champion. Okay. Like that's what you want to do with a tournament. Like I get that, but like, Supporters Shield is based on 34 matches and this is 14. Like that's a little interesting. Like imagine we have the start next year that we do right now when we're 2-0-3 and we have no shot, potentially at a trophy just early on because there's only 14 matches. You're laughing. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, my thoughts. If anybody's been listening for a while, right? Sometimes Ryan's got these. This feels like a take that, as soon as FC Cincinnati wins MLS Cup, Ryan will be like, and this is why we are legitimate. This is why this should matter. Like this, it'll be like how the Lakers look at the bubble and winning the NBA championship. Like, hey, the shortened season, we did it. There's nothing that's ever been done like this. We're one of one, right? So I'm just seeing the flip side.
I just see it for this situation because there's so little matches. Like,
no,
you're going to stack like the Supporters Shield win in 14 games versus FC Cincinnati one in 2023. Like,
no, and to your point, there is less room for error. However, that also means if you get hot, right, you can actually carry that a lot easier than you could in the regular type of schedule, because with the other international breaks, with the Leagues Cup break, right, summer window, right, going into the playoffs, you got 8-9 games usually before playoffs. Now you've got 14. Just, hey, let's roll through and play, and hottest team wins. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll clip that. I'll remember it.
Yeah. When we end up winning it, might say something different. The other thing I think about is, like, obviously we're coming off of a World Cup year. Guys are playing a ton of games, a lot of minutes, and they're going to have a break in the winter now. They're going to have a break next summer. Maybe this is a good way for the players' bodies just to kind of get back on track.
Catch up a little bit.
But unfortunately, FC Cincinnati 2 is still looking for their first win of the season. They have an 0-2 loss at Scott's Miracle Grow Stadium up north in Columbus. They changed the name to an even worse name. But yeah, again, only winless team in Next Pro right now. 2 goals, 8 given up, 4 matches. Not great for the boys. They got to figure it out. We're going back home on Monday, April 13th. Their next match is against New York City FC 2. It's an early season, here. We're only 4 matches in. It doesn't look great, but again, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, you want to talk about a rebuild? I mean, would you arguably say that they're not starting from the ground up? They're starting like underneath the dirt at this point, right? And
trying to have a miracle grow.
Yeah.
Just use some of the juju from the stadium up north.
Yeah. Hey, Scotts. We're gonna need your help. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to watch, but hopefully the academy kids that they've been bringing in to be able to fill some time helps in development, right? That's kind of also what we want to see. If it has to be trial by fire, so be it. And I'm a firm believer in you're only going to learn through experience. So,
yeah,
I mean, hopefully this helps.
See what the boys can do. But as we look ahead for the first team, Sam, for April, very interesting kind of lineup of matches here. Again, we don't have a match coming up. We have international break, and we'll touch on all the guys involved with that. But we're back to Saturday, Wednesday matches. So at New York Red Bulls on April 4th. Then we'll go to Toronto for April 11th. Chicago at home, April 18th. At New York on a baseball field, April 22nd. And back at home against Red Bulls again, 2 times in a month, on April 25th. For me, it was interesting to see 3 out of the 5 are away, and all currently are in playoff positions. So a lot different than what we've seen so far. Of the first 5 opponents, only Toronto is the sole playoff team that we've played currently as things stand. So I think New York City, obviously a good team. Chicago, they've had some good matches. Red Bulls are kind of like a wild card with the young team. In Toronto, we've already seen them and lost to them. So we're going to have an interesting go at it in April, and we'll really see what changes come out of the international break. Hopefully we're healthy. We always see concerns with that, with guys going all over the world, actually. But Sam, any thoughts about what we're seeing coming forward here or moving forward?
No, yeah. I mean, you look at, like you said, those teams that are in playoff contention that we will be playing, in the next one in Red Bulls, right? I will say the thing that stands out to me is we do have a better goal differential than New York Red Bulls. So right now, obviously, like Ryan had said, in that 7, 8, 9, 6 range, it's still early, right? So there's a lot of these teams that are still going to be close together, and hopefully this international break will help us get through these, kind of back-to-backs, if you will. But yeah, I think, against a team like Chicago, obviously that'll be an interesting match because Berhalter, this is what, 2nd season for him, right? Up in Chicago. So is this a new look Chicago team? And then obviously you get, NYCFC playing in the baseball stadium. We talked to Kevin, McCloskey about it and how much it sucks. So we never play good there. So we'll see how we do.
I never feel good about going there.
I know.
Yeah, I never do. But yeah, I think this is, I said it last episode, this is when Pat Noonan's teams historically have really put in work and gotten points in bunches. So if we can turn it around in April, we can make up some ground of saying the guys that are in teams that are in playoff positions above us here. I think Chicago, Red Bulls, Toronto, they're all very close. So we can leapfrog and gain positions if we win these matches. That's the positive that I see. It's a good opportunity for us to kind of move our way back towards the top. Again, it's so early on in the season. We have a lot of time, but if you slip quickly, it could be disastrous. It's amazing. We didn't have this in our template, but I'm going to put it out to you. Like, Philly wins Supporters Shield last season, Sam. They haven't won a single game, 5 matches. Columbus hasn't won a single game. That should have been our card of the week right there. But yeah, it's crazy this season, and to see some of the results early on, it's been a wacky MLS. But walk us through, again, international break that we have. 12 of our guys get called up. I think that's got to be a record for this team. Close to the most of, I think, in MLS right now. I think I saw Miami had 10, and of the first team guys, I think we had like 9 potentially. So we were close, but not quite there. But yeah, there's a lot of guys in this window. So what are you seeing of this group?
Yeah, so obviously the ones that are most relevant to everybody listening and watching is the U.S. men's national team, and that would be Miles Robinson, Roman Salentano. But like we mentioned earlier, Roman Salentano picked up a knock in training, so he lost his spot. So we'll kind of talk about what that looks like going forward. But this international window will be the final time this team gets together before the U.S. men's national team roster is announced for the World Cup. So big implications in this camp. But they will play against Belgium, and then they will play against Portugal. So 2 marquee teams, that have World Cup experience going into the quarterfinals, semifinals, late into the rounds. So this will be a good test for them and Poch. So, yeah, obviously Ryan coming into this, Miles' form lacking, right? What does that look like for him going forward? And then Celentano, is he possibly going to miss out on the World Cup because he got injured?
Yeah, it certainly seems like, I mean, this is the last camp before, and he's fighting for that third spot. Arguably between him, Schulte, and maybe Klinsmann was the other one. I know they call in Chris Brady. I just don't think that, maybe he's really fighting for that spot. But it's unfortunate for Roman if he wanted to make that World Cup roster. Like, this was his last chance to make an imprint, on Pochettino, who had really kind of seen a lot out of Roman, actually. So bummer for him. For Miles, I thought, like, man, he's in a terrible run of form, but maybe this is really good for him to go and play with guys, that are just going to elevate his game that much more, make him realize, like, what level he needs to be at. You're going to see guys coming in, obviously with Chris Richards playing next to him, Tim Ream as well, like studs in the back, guys that have been around for a while. And he might realize, especially playing, the Belgiums, the Portugals, like how much better he needs to play and can come out of this like, all right, I'm going to get my act together. And if I want to make this team, make this roster, yet alone, we had previously talked about him starting, but now we're talking about, is he even going to make the roster? What helps is Noah Kai Banks, a guy that was dual international, Germany guy, US guy. He decides to not come in, so that maybe helps Miles' case a little bit. Sam, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, right now it doesn't look too good for him if it's me, but obviously Poch sees something in him, and that's good because we want somebody from FC Cincinnati in this World Cup, just for headlines, just for the sake of rooting for an extra, body, and the fact that it's U.S. men's national team makes it even better. But as far as some other players, we mentioned Ender Echenike. Not being able to travel down to Venezuela, gets the call up, but not able to go just because of the situation with Venezuela and United States.
Visa,
Going forward, Ramirez gets call up for Ecuador, international friendlies on that end. But Ryan, the big one I think for us, right? Go ahead.
Can I real quickly about Ramirez? I didn't know if you wanted to roll into it real fast.
Go.
So Ecuador's in the World Cup, Sam.
Okay.
And Ramirez has not had a senior appearance. So we talked about guys elevating their game with FCC, being able to find their national team. Pat talked about it and said how big of a deal and recruitment it is that FCC will allow these players to go and, basically live out their dream. And for Ramirez, he's never played for Ecuador at the senior level, could get his first cap on a team that, again, is in the World Cup. So are we talking about two guys now, with potentially Miles, maybe Roman, but now with even Ramirez that could potentially make the World Cup? That's pretty cool to see. But the one that you were talking about here, the big one, is Pavel Buka.
Yeah, absolutely. And this guy, I mean, Czech Republic, they're going to be fighting for their lives in the World Cup qualifying playoff. They have to win 2 matches to advance into the World Cup, do or die. They will play Republic of Ireland first, and then if they win, they play, a winner-take-all either against Denmark or North Macedonia. And then the wins, right? So if they end up winning that playoff, they will join the group of Mexico, South Africa, and South Korea. So, I mean, not a terrible group, but we'll kind of see how it goes. But for Buka, I mean, he hasn't gotten his senior call up, right? This is his first, and it just so happens to be his former coach.
Yeah, he had been called up once because of an injury for another player. He never appeared at a senior level for a appearance. But yeah, Miroslav Kubek, guy that with Victoria Pleasant that he used to play for before he came to FCC, appointed their national team coach in December and basically told Pavel, like, I'm going to keep my eyes on you. And if you do well, I see you. I know what you're doing in the MLS. We'll maybe get you onto this roster. And Buka has a little bit of a tough stretch here in the last few games. Again, I think he's a glue guy. I think he's really important. He didn't play particularly super well yesterday, but maybe, again, going in and playing for his country, that's just got to be so much. And again, for a team that hasn't made it to the World Cup since 2006, like, what an opportunity for Buka to go and to potentially maybe he's a part of this, maybe not. But just to be there and to be involved with this, I think is really special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they haven't been to the World Cup since 2006, so they're trying to get in there. But as far as some of the younger guys, Dotto gets called into the U21 U.S. men's national team camp. They're going to be playing over in Japan and South Korea, but they will be playing Japan and Korean Republic, and should be good quality minutes for him. He
Especially
recently,
with him being out with red card, it's good that he's getting
so
real games.
he gets to play to
Right.
some degree. But Ryan, this is an interesting one. Adamir Chavez gets called up for the U.S. men's national team. Recently, he had actually been called up for the Mexican national team. He's going back and forth. He's trying to feel out which one he's got more of an opportunity at.
Maybe the scouts for the U.S. are trying to poach him back. You get that one? Poach it back there a little bit. But yeah, no, I hope he can make it, up the ladder for us because he's a solid player. Another guy, Andre Chirilla, U.S. U18. He's going to go to Portugal. These guys are going all over the globe, Sam. Like, it's crazy, all within a week's time. But U18s for them, I think these are more warm-ups for some competitions coming up. Samuel Giddy, Slovakian U21 national. He's going to be playing as well. He's been, I think a staple with that team. And then obviously Denke and Hidebe too. So they round out the last ones. They have more friendlies, but nothing like super important or as important as, Bucas and Ramirez and whatnot. But again, it's pretty cool to see all these guys involved. Anywhere from going to Africa to, I think we're looking at Buca going into way across the globe. Chirilla in Portugal. I mean, these guys are going everywhere. Then they got to come back and, we got to have a training session before we play against Red Bull. So again, hopefully we all come back healthy. We've seen that as an issue before, but I'm excited to watch some international play, especially for, seeing Miles. And then I would love to see Ramirez do well too. I think that'd be pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, it's great to see the FC Cincinnati aim getting out there, not only with the national teams, but like you said, in the different countries that they are playing for those said national teams. So always a good thing to represent the brand. But before we kind of wrap up here, another thing I think we'll probably touch on just next week, because there's not going to be much to touch on, so we'll probably touch on it. But GA Cup is going on for the younger Garys at IMG Academy down in Florida from March 27th through April 4th. So you'll get a lot of the academy teams down there for FC Cincinnati. Hopefully we're able to build off of a decent showing. I think I remember last year for some of the age groups. So once again, trying to represent the brand as best as possible, and hopefully development continues.
Yeah, Sam was saying U15 and U16 age groups are going to represent for our FCC guys. Massive competition. You get youth sides from Boca Juniors, Club America, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, PSV, huge opportunity for some of these young guys to make impressions. So you can check a lot of those matches out on YouTube, actually, if you guys wanted to go and watch that. MLS's YouTube page will be streaming those, so we can go watch the young Garys there. But I will close it out for us tonight. Again, our trivia question before we go here. Has FC Cincinnati ever had consecutive matches with red cards? Sam locked in one time, 2023. You were close. It was 2024. It was the only other time. So it was July 13th, 2024 against Charlotte, and July 17th of 2024 against Chicago. And in those ones, it was Miles Robinson and Alvis Powell that got red cards.
I was about to say Miles was against Charlotte. Yeah.
Yep. So kind of crazy. It's happened before, but of note, games with multiple overall red cards for FC Cincinnati. We've had, I believe now, this is kind of crazy. And in a few matches, we actually had 2 red cards for us. In the era, I think, where Lucho was going and talking to the ref, and there was a lot of brawls that were going on there. So 2019, we had one where there was 2. And then in 2021, there was a match against New York with 2, Red Bulls with 2. Of course, it's always the New York teams. And then, obviously now we're talking just back-to-back matches that we just recently saw and then going back before. So hopefully this is not a trend.
No, but things get heated, right? Cards are shown whether or not we deserve them, but they are shown.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. Again, on a positive note, we're moving into greener pastures, hopefully more points on the board for FCC. Next week, we'll be back talking a little bit of ball just in terms of national team camps and what we saw, maybe with a surprise special guest as well. So stay tuned to that.